Hello there, viewer. In this video, I'm going to cover the concept of PowerShell execution, where credentials are needed to access a particular service or function from the underlying PowerShell. This is a recurring challenge in PowerShell automation, where scripts need to be deployed and executed with a given set of credentials, where it's not desirable to include or embed those credentials in the scripts that are going to run. There are additional challenges, including the idea that credentials can change over time, and managing the distribution or changes, knowing where those credentials are in use, and dealing with the updating of that credential information can be a challenge. And there are obviously security concerns as well. So I'll take us through a process in the PMG platform where we build a PowerShell script that needs a credential and is going to use that credential, but the script itself does not directly have access to that information. It retrieves it on demand as needed, and it then gets that information if it's authorized to have access to it. So what I have on the screen right now is simply a workflow that calls a very basic PowerShell script, and we can look at what the script says. In this script, we're setting a password variable, and we're using a special commandlet which will go get the name of this password and set it to the variable. Then we build our credential using the secured password that we just received in the following line, and then we use the credential to connect to Azure. So let's just take a look at what this looks like when it runs. We see here that the workflow has executed the PowerShell and it followed out the path successful. So we can have some confidence that we were actually able to get our credential and connect to Azure. Let's take a look at how the credential is defined, which gives this script that we just looked at access to this information. We can see that this workflow is named PowerShell Secure, and we have a method to manage the credentials that these PowerShell scripts are going to need. So from connector configuration, we access our PowerShell configurations. In this configuration management screen, we have a document that describes the credential that we just retrieved by name, and we can see there's a list of one or more workflows which are authorized to access this credential. And then we have the secure string property, which will be decrypted as needed for use by the PowerShell. And to build these secure strings, we have a web utility, encryptString, and in this I can type some password to use, choose an encryption method, and click encrypt, and then I have the opportunity to grab this and use it in my configuration file. So now that we've seen a workflow that has access to this credential use this by name, my password, I will open another workflow which is not authorized, and we see that this is called PowerShell No Access, which we know was not listed as an authorized workflow, and I'll simply hit play, and we can see that we were unsuccessful. And this PowerShell script was not able to access that credential as needed to execute properly. Another benefit of being able to separate credentials in this manner is that they are given a name, which acts as a reference. So I can have the references defined in my workflow or my PowerShell scripts, which can use credentials for a given environment, say a development environment, which would likely differ from credentials for a production environment, and I can declare them as different values in my different environments, but leave the same reference name, and trivially migrate my workflow and my PowerShell script from, say, development to production and they should work in both environments without any changes to the underlying script. And this concludes my video for using credentials securely with PowerShell in the PMG platform.